Welcome back to another episode of Mythbusters in video games. You guys really liked the last episode we made where we tried to replicate splitting a car in half on a snowplow. So as I promised, we are going to be doing another episode, and this one is going to be about crash and burn. This was tested by the Mythbusters in season 7, and it was seen if a car flying off a cliff that crashes burns. Usually when you see a car that flies off a cliff, it usually explodes or catches on fire. The Mythbusters tested that, and they busted it because it was not the engine or any of that that catches on fire or explodes. It's the fuel tank that needs to be ruptured and then needs to create a spark on something that it hits. So the myth was busted, and I thought that would be a very cool episode to test out on here. So we are going to be testing out several different cars, new ones and old ones, electric and gas, seeing if there's any difference between the type of car and the effect it has. So we're here in Utah at the Grand Canyon. I found, I think, the perfect spot for testing this. Right here we've got a nice little lip on the edge, so we can get the car up and off the ground in the air, and it will then fly over the cliff and down there. If we take it slow enough and don't go super fast, we can also hit several rocks along the way. So, got a lot to do in this episode, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll test out the modern sports car first with an engine in the front. Then we will go to a modern electric car, then a little bit older car with an engine in the back. Then finally we'll test an older car with the engine in the front. So we got 4 cars to test. Let's go ahead and start it off. We'll fire up this car. And let's go ahead and throw this baby off a cliff. We'll go ahead and take it at a lower speed, just like the Mythbusters did. We're not going to fly over there at 100 miles an hour because we want to flip and hit lots of things along the way. And of course, we've got our slow motion cameras running, so we can see everything in beautiful slow motion, 1/8 the speed. Let's go ahead and see if we can get this car to explode. Slow that down, and it looks like we're going to hit several things along the way, so that should be good. Hopefully we'll make it over that next lip over there. Okay, and looks like our engine is indeed broken. As you can see on the diagram on the bottom left side of your screen, at the back we have our fuel tank, which has no color on it, which means it is perfectly intact. Nothing is wrong with it. And again, that is our source of ignition. That is what we want to explode. And typically gas tanks are very well protected on the car, so they have less of a chance of actually rupturing and catching on fire. And if we go full speed here, you can see the car has not exploded, but the engine is actually dead. So this car is not driving away, but it did not explode. Alright, next here we've got a modern electric car. This one is to test and see if maybe a ruptured battery could potentially explode or catch on fire. So let's go ahead and test this one out now. And here we'll go off the cliff like this. And slow that down. And we're going to land right on the side. Now the diagram on this car isn't entirely accurate because it has no fuel tank, but it does have 2 engines, one in the front and one in the back, with the battery stored underneath. As you can see, that metal is protecting the batteries, so hopefully nothing like that should ever happen to something like this. And unfortunately, no exploding car. Now we'll test the engine in the back on an older car. So just like in our previous episode, we're going to be using this car again. It has an engine in the back. So we'll go ahead and see if this makes any difference as we fly this over the cliff. And it's going straight down, so we'll have maximum damage to the front of the car. The radiator is now leaking. Gonna hit the back with the gas tank, possibly. And it looks like we're just gonna keep flipping over. But nothing happened at all to the engine or the gas tank. The car is still perfectly fine. In fact, I think you can still drive this away. So yes, it did not explode. Okay, we got one more to try. And then if we don't get that, let's see if we can get any type of car to explode if we drive it off at high speeds. Okay, we got an older car here. It's got an engine in the front. Let's go ahead and see if this can explode once we throw this off a cliff. Looks like it might land right on the engine, which could be good for us, and hit the gas tank. Got a leaking radiator. Oh, and there you go, fuel tank ruptured. Hopefully that gets us something. It's the closest we've got to anything. But unfortunately, nothing happened. You can still drive the car if you can get it over this hill. It's still drivable. Let's see if we can get this to drive any more off a cliff. And we hit a tree. So, no, it did not explode, even with a ruptured fuel tank. But now we're going to take this up. Let's go at super high speeds and see what can happen. So right here we've got the exact same car, but this has been tuned and is much, much faster. So let's see if we can get the proper speed to fly off the cliff at high speeds and explode this time. Going right there, and we got our leaking radiator, but no ruptured fuel tank yet, nothing wrong with the engine, and it doesn't look like we got anything. But don't worry, because we got one more thing to try. I lied, there's one more thing. If you remember from our last episode, we used a rocket-powered bus. Yes, we'll be using that again in this episode, seeing how bad this can be. It exploded in the last episode, so let's see if we can get it to explode in this one too. So right here we've got the Hero bus. This looks like a superhero, and we are prepared to launch this thing off a cliff. We'll go ahead and turn on the JATO rockets, and we'll go ahead and take off. We'll keep the rockets on just for extra fuel to see if this thing can actually light on fire. Engine broken, engine's locked up. There goes the rockets flying off. Look at that. That's so cool. Those things are just flying around. Let me turn those off there. And so the fuel tank is still fine. Is not on fire. Nothing's on fire. The rockets flew away the first second they had, so those were no longer source of ignition. And unfortunately, even this is still not on fire, although it is smoking. But there you go. That is all for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any suggestions for more myths, definitely let me know in the comment section. If you like this video, leave it a like and hit the subscribe button for more videos like this. This is Mark with AdTech, and I will see you in the next one.